Hello, friends. We are now in the 23rd episode of .NET Weekly Journey, which is now starting from previous videos. I think 3 to 4 videos. The previous 3 to 4 videos is starting to always discussing .NET 9, and we are now going to discuss focusing on the breaking changes and try to answer the problem from previous week related to enabling the Aspire for SQL Server. Okay, this is about me. I'm Eran Kusamadono. I am based in Indonesia, and this is my LinkedIn, or you can search LinkedIn using my name here. Next to me is my wife. We are based in Indonesia too. And now, if you have any open source project to search or if you want to enable some support, let's say for CI/CD or some awareness, you can apply for support from Foundation project. Okay, now let's continue to our topic. But before that, this is the plan update so far, and discussing .NET 9, discussing breaking changes. This is discussing .NET 9 is mostly basically what's new in .NET 9. Of course, it is not describing all of them, but focusing on what is quite notable or noteworthy in .NET 9 compared to previous releases. Okay, and we are going to discuss breaking change and also, but before that, the fix of last week Aspire SqL Server problem. And I may add some new ways to ensure that or to optimize that if you create the container, if it is possible, try to ensure that the data should be less, at least try to persist the data in the SQL Server database. Okay, this is packet specification and it is still valid, but I will add additional note because as we have discussed on the previous week, I am not using the .NET 9 SDK of version 9.0.101 because this SDK and the release after this SDK will have some changes. We all know that since .NET 9, we have the NuGet audit when we are restoring the package, but now in SDK 9.0.101, that audit is always run, but it will not mark as an error if we have some NuGet package that has some known security vulnerabilities. I mean that the NuGet audit will always run, but it is not, what is the term for that? It will not break your compile. Previously, it will break. Um, there are many samples of this one, as I have discussed in last week. So I think you will be able to reproduce on your own. And as for me, of course, I will try to not to use the problematic NuGet package. I mean, not the actual NuGet package itself, but if you are still using the NuGet package with a certain version that has security vulnerabilities, you should try to update that NuGet package as soon as possible. But also at the same time, you have to ensure that your update will not break existing code that you have. Okay, again, your update should not break the existing code that you have. And as far as I know, in the case of the Microsoft Nougat package, they will try to enforce backward compatibility. But for other kinds of Nougat package outside Microsoft, sometimes the update is not, released immediately, or even if there is an update, it may change the existing behavior outside the fix for the security vulnerabilities. Okay, I will try to explain it later in detail. Okay, now let's revisit the .NET Aspire diffusion. I'm going to discuss this first because uh, I'll try to answer the problem of last week video, especially if you try to open the SQL Server database, try to manage it from outside. Let's say if you use SQL Server Management Studio, and of course, the way to set it is always opinionated from Microsoft. But as we always see from previous video, many kinds of ways is not, nicely documented. And yes, since this is a video journey, you are welcome to say that I know it by trying to dig deeper. Because again, if you just follow the documentation, it is assumed that it is a minimal or common scenario, which is something that always assume. Like, let's say if you have Redis, then how are you going to enable container persistent on that one? Something that should be described on the documentation itself, but it is not yet described. So I just found out myself. Okay, now let's move on to the ecosystem. Yes, just a quick recap. We all know that there are AppHost and safety default for the basic element for the for within Aspire to ensure that Aspire runs successfully, and then the other web projects that is used to in the AppHost and service default. That AppHost will be the main entry point to start the app. So which is why by default, if you enable Aspire, this AppHost project is the starting or the startup project by default. The next are available on my previous videos. And these are the known component support as of now. Of course, there are Oracle and so on. If you view the Nougat package list, I will try to update this after this video. And okay, now we are going to discuss breaking chains. But first, I'm going to demo the Aspire first. Okay, let's go to my Visual Studio here. And this is the changes that I have right now. So I'm able to pass the password as parameter here. And then, yeah, we have a name instant. And I set the port to 1500 for this SQL Server instance of the container. This is important to prevent a conflict with my existing SQL Server installation, because by default this container will also use the same port for I think 1433. So now I'm also ensure that it will add database which has name and this name as Aspire sample DB. And this setting, it is not directly related to any kinds of connection string usage. But it is also important because if you are not specifying the password, it will always use a random password in the container, as we have seen in the previous video. Okay. I'm also adding this one with data volume of SQL volume. As you will see, I have deleted the SQL container here. The others are persisted, of course, just to show you that I'm also deleting the volume that I used before showing this video. Also, if any of you join my .NET Conf .NET Conf Jakarta 2024 event yesterday, you'll see that I have also demo you the volume, and it is persistent. But for you, the viewer of this video, I will try to make it as previously there are no volumes before. So let's try to run this. And before that, I have to I have to inform you that all the changes is also have been pushed to my repo, so you can use as well. And I have added some comment regarding if you just ignore the persistent lifetime of the Redis insight and Redis commander. Let's try to run this. I've also run my SQL Server Management Studio. So let's see. Okay, these containers should be running, and now we have SQL Server up, the Redis and also Redis commander. And as you see, before it is running, the app is not run. So we have a good consistency. So we also try to enforce that this database should be run first, right? Because this web app needs the database. Although I'm only enabled on the API, but the front end will call the API, and API will set the database. This is why I think it's safer to always ensure that the SQL Server instance is running first. Okay, so let's try to have a quick check of the web. I'm going to open this web and I've added the product list just to show that I have some data, and I use the Bootstrap CSS to show you that, yeah, just to ensure that I can have alternate row colors, because if you see on the weather, it's just plain tables. Okay, this is working now. Let's try to fix the problem of last week because I could not, connect to the SQL Server for in the container. Now, the first problem is the use of the IP address of the server name. So if you are using container by default, you cannot use alias of localhost. And then the port number should be different from your existing SQL Server. So I use a port number of 1500. And the other problem is if you have a connection string, and this is using the connection string syntax, not the usual, the host name or IP address with the colon and then port number. You cannot do that. This is why, and I think it's my own fault. I have to use the connection string syntax, meaning that this is the host name, and if you want to specify the port number, you have to use comma here and then the port number. So since I have enabled the SQL password to be always specified when you define the instance of the SQL Server, then I could have the consistent way to ensure that I have the same password as we have configured to use the PASSW0RD as our password. So we can now try to connect. Yep, and then you will see that I could connect, and this is the database, and this is the tables. When the container is running, this is shown because I ensure that to always create the database on the entity framework layer. Okay, let me show you this one. So when the surface of the DB contact is running, then I call the context.database.answer created. As we see in the comment of the XML comment or the documentation of this method, if the database does not exist, then the database is created and the entity framework model is used to create and or should I say ensure that the database schema is correctly set up. And then I fill in some initial values here. Basically, it's just sample data. Okay, now I have fixed the problem of accessing this, and it is a little bit tricky if you have a requirement for, let's say, you need to not just use different port number, but if you only enable name pipe, that would be different. That would be to me a little bit difficult because you can use name pipe if you are using model of separate database server, and then you have a separate web server, because that means that you cannot use name pipe directly, as far as I know. Using name pipe means that you are always having some kind of intranet instead of internet, because that means that your SQL Server is always near you, and since you are using name pipe, that host name is always be known as local intranet, instead of you can directly point, let's say, if you put your database server on Azure, it's like blah 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 dot Azure database or something something, instead of directly name pipe. So I suggest, if you really want to deploy your SQL Server as container, you should always use the default setting as to connect by using IP address directly. And for this kind of development scenario, yeah, it is recommended to use uh, localhost, but then you have to convert that localhost into IP address. And I think it's easy, but it's always by default to 127.0.0.1. So that is pretty standard, and it is also quite trivial to set up and also to use. Okay, we are going to go back to this one. I make this as a persistent, and you will see in the Docker there is a volume that is using the same name as the initial code here. So I use with data volume of SQL volume. Okay. Now, if I close the app and let's go back to this one, product. Let's see the data. Okay, select top 1000 rows. Because it is persistent, then we should be able to query, but unfortunately, why it is not showing? It is still running, right? And okay, what happened? Somehow it is not responding. Failed to retrieve data. Oh my. Let's try to disconnect first and try to connect again. Well, this is strange. Okay, the container is still running. Okay. There should be some kind of port here, no? Network related remote computer reviews. This is new. Remote computer reviews, but the container is still running. It is not, stopped or deleted. Few details. Mm-hmm. Attempting to load. I see no problem in the log. I see no problem in the log here. Let's try to. What's this? I don't want to restart the SQL Server. Oh man, container is already up. Okay, and then I get the impression that you can open from SQL Server Management Studio if you run Aspire, which is something that to me is not nice. Oh man, what happened to this guy? Hmm. Network related instance cannot connect to this one. To verify that instance is correct. It is correct. On. Okay, let's do some quick tests. Let's run this again. Ooh. If this is true, then I'm screwed. Okay, we see that this is running, and let's see the details of this guy. It is running. Oh, really? Oh man, it is going back to container arguments. Hmm. It is still using 14.3.3. Okay, Let's try to connect from Management Studio again. Hmm. This is oh my god, this is confusing. Name, yeah, target port is this. So the endpoint is using 1500 as the port, which is correct one. And it is using SQL volume, yeah, it is healthy. Let's try to open the app. Okay, you see some data. Oh wow. Okay, let's try to fix this in about 10 minutes. Let's see if I could do that. Again, it's always something new coming up after there are problems. So let's try to stop this one. Okay, before I'm going to shut this container down, you see that I'm using SQL volume, right? If you have data volume, if the container is stopped or even deleted, that data volume is still there. So let's try that again in front of you. So I will stop it. And okay, now you see that the open port is 1433. And then I will delete this, delete forever, of course. And check on the volume. Now you see it is still there. So even if the container is stopped and deleted, this volume is persisted and it will reuse again if you run the project or the Aspire AppHost again. Before that, let's try to do some update. Okay, let's see if it is it possible to use different one hotspot for SQL Server. Okay. Okay. So with data from SQL Server password. Maybe I'll try to directly search for manually set the container used by uh, at SQL Server, if I'm not mistaken. At is yeah, at SQL Server. Okay, try to directly search. Hmm. Okay, looks like I'm not the only one. There is someone already asked about this problem. Uh, I want to fix hotspot because it's always use 14 or 1433. Hmm. Yeah, so set the random port with endpoint of this guy. No, this is not what I'm trying to solve. Hmm. There is also with surface binding. .NET CLI. Okay, let's open that documentation link first. And before I continue, if you hear me coughing because I'm currently having a mild flu, uh, please bear with me. So, we set the persistent. Hmm, what is this C also? No, not this one. Active hard connection, soft connect. event source. Oh, this is the telemetry of the SQL Server instance. So let's get with the help. I think we should not disable the health check. That is it is not a good practice to disable health check. So I'll just use the default one. Let's try to look for the port setting. As you see here, it is using different port as well. The 50224. Okay, this is strange. If you use different port, you should explain it on the sample code. Yeah, it is not explaining it, so it should give a sample. SQL password based on database. Yes, yes. Okay, it doesn't show that. As I have mentioned before in my previous video, if you look at this uh, documentation, it was assumed that you are using all default settings. This to me contradict the sample of using Sql Server Management Studio. As you see, it is using different port. So they should give a sample how to connect to a different port. Uh, ah, I think I should uh, I should try to push the change into this. Okay, I will try to submit a pull request, but maybe I should open a discussion first for this issue. Ah man, this is not nice. Observability, telemetry, and so on, so on. Hmm. I want to fix the host port. I don't want to update the port every time. This works for the HTTP facing endpoint. Okay, let's open these other topics. Okay, how endpoint works, blah blah blah. Random. Okay, this is random port. Networking in the inner loop. Let's go to the container port. Endpoint extension. With endpoint name admin. Callback static endpoint and point to this guy. Uh, it doesn't guarantee that it will work for SQL Server instance because it is not mentioned at all here. So scope. Oh, hang on. Set the port. Finding container port. How to fix host port. How to fix host port. Okay, this is the first resource that it found. Let's open this guy maybe. Binding container. Oh, this is good idea. Okay, let's try to check this from the Docker PS. Okay, I should open a new command prompt here. Docker PS. Let's see the actual endpoint that is being opened, and I'm not seeing SQL Server. Why? of course, it is not yet run. Okay, let's run it again and see the actual port open. And of course, it is using the same data volume if you are curious about that. So it is running now, and they should show here. I think why is it not showing? Okay, Docker PS. Where is the SQL Server? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it is using 1433. Oh man, I should fix this. Ah, okay, okay. So looks like the problem is also still there, although it is slightly different context. It is still using 1500 as shown in this Docker PS 14.3 TCP. Oh, come on. And oh, I should not close that default or developer command prompt. So here TCP 1500. So why it is working? Uh, let's see. It is working. I'm going to disconnect this first and stop this. Try to use any available option and test it. Okay, so the first Stack Overflow mentioned about with endpoint, but I don't know. It seems not quite clear to me. I see it was using some binding or something. Ooh. I need to be able to, yeah, to set the container, not the SQL Server directly. So, hmm, the host port for the SQL Server, but it is actually using the 1433. And okay, I will also delete this guy or stop it first. I'm going to stop this and then delete this. Oh, not this one. I should. uh, this is the correct one. So the SQL Server. Stop this and delete. I'm also going to delete the volume here. Okay. Now I have a clean setup. Let's try to add. I think it's setting that should be done before setting the data volume, I believe. So with bind mount, no, I'm not going to use binding. Endpoint. I'll check HTTP endpoint. Is there any with TCP or something endpoint? Okay, I don't have that with annotation. With secret. Oh, with SQL Server. With secret or command or what's this? I don't have a summary. Come on, it is not container runtime arguments. I really want to know the SQL Server settings. So it seems it's not open. Add SQL Server with image. No, not image. It's already not related. Wow. Data bind, data volume is already is that HTTP. This is not HTTP endpoint. Okay, with endpoint maybe is a method. Yes. Oh, okay. The first parameter is port scheme. Do we have to use the name? Scheme name? No. I think port is an optional port given to resource to communicate. Okay. Okay. I will try to use this parameter. Port is 1500, comma something like target port. Target port is type as integer. Okay, I will also use the same 1500. Is there anything more? No. With endpoint, this one target port is. This is the port that will be given to resource to communicate with. But this is not related to SQL Server. Okay, let's try to run this again and see what's going on the container. If I could not fix it, I will try to fix it for the next video. And I got exception. It says that each endpoint must have. Okay. I'll try to use the endpoint name, and this I don't have it with endpoint. There should be with endpoint. No, with endpoint. Okay, your scheme is yeah. Oh my god. There is also service discovery. Where is this? Name endpoints. Service discovery. So we have a different endpoint. I see. It is not directly applicable to our problem now. So okay, I think I'm going to put a stop on this one and try to use that name argument. Ah, man, how we so what is that name? Uh, Scheme name. Okay, I'm going to use TCP for this one. Hopefully, we could run this. For that, okay. So the container is not yet created. It's good. Ah, okay. This is the last one. If I could not fix this, and I'll try to discuss it on next video. There is a problem after a problem after I fix the problem, and if this goes on and on, it's definitely we should update the documentation. So endpoint name TCP. Come on, few details. Okay. Let's see the stack trace. This is problematic. Surface discovery. No, it's not related. Callback and extension method. Scheme, container path, host path, environment. This is of my open this one. What? Surface discovery. Oh man. Let's go back to the error. Endpoint with name TCP already exists. Endpoint name may not have been explicitly. For more, must have unique name. Okay. So do I set this? Okay, I'll use different name. Uh, oh come on. Custom SQL endpoint. There you are. And I'll use this for TCP. Scheme is TCP. TCP. Yeah. If it is not working, then I will defer it on the next week video. It is working. But okay, let's wait for the container to be up. And we have two endpoint. But let's check it on the Docker PS. Developer command prompt. There was a problem comes one after another. Oh, Hmm. Okay. Now it opens two port. One is okay. For now, it seems I could not change the default port of 1433 to 1500. Maybe that requires me to directly, do something on the container. I'm afraid. But now let's try to do our testing. But before that, check the app. It should be working. Okay, I see some data coming up. Now let's try to open this guy from SQL Server after I close the app. 1500, I should be able to open it. And I could not do that. I don't know why. Come on. The container is still up. Oh my god. Seems I could not connect. Yeah, it is not available. So why is that? Nation properties default. Uh, man. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think the port is already open with the correct port number, and it seems strange. This is strange to me. Whether something magically happened in the background that I don't know, or something else happening. Ah, hmm. Yeah, this is strange. Okay, now let's discuss the next topic of breaking chains. We have here three kinds of breaking chains. Actually, this is becoming more apparent since .NET 9, and they continue to have this kind of model in .NET. In .NET 8, and now this is continued in the .NET 9. So we have three kinds of breaking chains. One is binary incompatible. It says here, this is the actual text from the doc with the emphasis. I add this from me. When run against the new runtime component, existing binaries may encounter breakages in behavior or failure to load, and if so, requires compilation. This is not complete. Um, why? Because binary incompatible, there are some changes that it may requires you to change the code because it will break the compilation. And the next one is source incompatible. It says when recompile using the new SDK, source code may require changes to compile successfully. Yes, this is some kind of a clear statement, but it also should say directly that existing source code has to be changed in order to compile successfully because it is uh, may may change the compilation. But sometimes since there are since or there is a this may it may require changes, but this may also means that the compiles may compile successfully, but then some failure may not be shown immediately. So this is why I mark this. This is a risky kind of breaking chains because you can compile it, but the failure will not be shown immediately as this source incompatible. The next one is behavioral change. It says existing code and binaries may behave differently at runtime. If the new behavior is undesirable, existing code would need to be updated and recompiled. And this is not true in all cases. An example of this behavior change is the next one is this one. Removal of binary formatter class. This class is commonly used for serialization, deserialization, but is known to be unsafe. Since .NET 9, we will not be able to use this guy anymore. And if you want to use that, you can see from the documentation here that I already opened. Let's go back to breaking change this one. It says here about the serialization inbox binary formatter implementation remove and always throws. It really says it says it is removed from the .NET SDK of .NET 9, totally removed, and it will always be thrown. It's a behavioral change. It is part of the ongoing migration that started since, I think it started since .NET 6. They marked it as obsolete, and then the finalization of the removal is in the .NET 9. This is why also it relates to something that I already mentioned before. You need to have this .NET 9 immediately, as I suggested, because this is the starting point that there are some breaking changes. Is not just it will change your app completely, but also if you come from .NET Framework code base, this is important because some of the serialization and deserialization, let's say if you want to deserialize the dataset, it is uh, using the binary formatter implicitly, especially if you are dealing with the asymmetric web services back to the uh, original world of SMX, SOAP, and so on in the .NET framework, which is why it is important because you cannot use that anymore. And it is also very dangerous because maybe the original code will not work as is, because can be sometimes that you are not using this class directly, but it will not work in the same behavior because the way that it deserialize this binary formatter is not used anymore in the core, and you will have different things when it tries to read or to generate the data. Try to serialize and deserialize the data. And to me, this is very important. I've stumbled on this kind binary formatter used before, and the reason why it is important is shown here. Okay, hang on. Behavioral change on this one. We can just also. I think something about serialization. This one. Binary formatter is always true. Okay, this is the inbox. This is something that I usually don't like. The title and the actual page title is not the same. So, yeah. Let's see. The actual reason for change. Binary formatter is insecure. And let's see the migration guide. Okay, this one. You see that you will have lots of reason explained in detail, and there is also link to the original blog announcement. So You can also try to reading the binary formatter payload, or in Microsoft term, I think it's an RBF. Let's try to open this guy. Yep, an RBF. An RBF is abbreviation from net or .NET remoting binary formatter. So it is originally comes from that original feature of .NET framework. It has a .NET remoting. It is also by default using binary formatter. The whole step of the migration is already shown here in detail. I have tried this one, and if you have many requests for me to discuss this, feel free. Let me know in the comments of on this video. And if you comment from in my LinkedIn, I think I will respectfully reject that, because I expect you to comment to my video, because if there are many requests to explain this behavior, especially the migration step, I will create a specific video on this one. Only if you comment on my video. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. To me, it is helpful to see that I'll be able to, you know, track this video and the other videos in this series, and I'll be able to conclude that it is useful or not. And the next one is, migrate manage resource or resource. This one is also by default using binary formatter, especially if you are using custom type. So yeah, now it is finally removed. If you feel no, Microsoft does not remind us before, we already see in .NET 5, I think, or .NET 6, that this uh, feature removal is already been reminded before. It was marked as obsolete. Now it is completely removed. So it is also quite have some time to migrate. It is, I think it's obsoleted since .NET 5. I may be wrong, but at least it is obsoleted in .NET 6. So you have more than 2 years. .NET 6, .NET 7, .NET 8. Now we have .NET 9. So I think if you are not migrating as early as possible, then if you find this removal is a annoying breaking change, then you are wrong, because Microsoft already discussed this before, long before the .NET 9 release. .NET 6 is already have this kind of binary formatter marked as obsolete. So we should not use this one, and it is inherently insecure. The other notable change, at least as I can see myself, the creating type of array of system void is not allowed, and this is a good break change. Yeah, so this is my own comment. Although it is quite late, this kind of ability to create type array from system void comes from the original .NET Framework world. I know it is very late to have this kind of breaking change in the .NET 9. They should have it from, let's see, .NET 5, I believe, because .NET 5 is the removal of the core. Now we have a unified .NET instead of .NET Core and .NET Framework, and I think it's a good one. So I know that most of us doesn't use this. In some cases, it is used. And again, if you have lots of requests to ask me to explain this, I will have this on a separate video. The next one is .NET Restore always audit transitive package. The emphasis of parenthesis always is added by my own. It is basically this the doc only say .NET Restore audits transitive packages, but it is always audited by default. And In audit means that it tries to understand what kind of NuGet packages that you have. Then it will try to check on the security vulnerability related to the .NET package with the version that you use. For example, if you have a NuGet A that you use version 1.0.0, but if 1.0.0 is known to have a vulnerability problems or security vulnerability, then when the .NET Restore is run, it will stop the compilation or stop the restore, and it will mark as error. But then, as I described on the previous video on the .NET SDK 9.0.101, the behavior of marking the audit unsuccessful audit of the NuGet package is not enabled by default. Again, unfortunately, I should also mention this again, that these kind of changes in .NET SDK 9.0.101, it is not yet reflected in the documentation. As you see, I think I'll show you. Okay. Hang on, which one? Audit, yeah, this one. .NET Restore Audit Sensitive Packages. So in this guy, this .NET Restore is always doing the audit. Again, unfortunately, it is not shown that by default, the default behavior is, I think, all, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Okay, breaking change, restore command. Yeah, I think it is using all by default. Yeah, this defaults to all. But now, in .NET 9.0.101, the default is direct, meaning that it only generates warnings, but it will not stop the .NET Restore or any kinds of if you also try to compile with Restore. So it will not fail. Only marked as warning, not as an error. I know that error compile is our friend, but I think on the outside world, most of the developers will not agree that you know uh, this should not be enabled by default. To me, and I think this is my own opinion, this should be enabled by default because I have no big tolerance for any kinds of NuGet package that has been marked to have security vulnerabilities. But again, that is my own opinion, and the actual decision, of course, is on your own hands or on your own team decision. Okay, now that I have discussed this, I have demo to you the use of fixing the opening the SQL Server from this one, and unfortunately, this additional with endpoint doesn't really solve the problem of accessing the SQL Server of inside the container from the Management Studio. Yeah, I think I consider this is my debt to you all, but I'll try to fix this. I may not be fortunate enough because yeah, I may not be successful in fixing this due to the lack of enough documentation. As always, before I conclude this video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one. And for those that attend my uh, community meetup of .NET Conf Jakarta, This is the in detail of what's going on when I explain to you. But in detail means that this is only discussing the enabling the SQL Server support in the Aspire in detail. And as you see, I have used the with endpoint, and I could not, enable the SQL Server of that container to be accessed from SQL Server Management Studio. But at least you'll see that the data volume is working. So, oh, by the way, before I conclude this, let me run this uh, last time again. And then let's try to, okay, let's check this again. We have here, yep. Now, just to prove my point, I'm going to add additional row, and that should be also saved in the data volume. Okay, if I open this, it should work. Let's see if I just, no, no, it's cancel. Hmm. Okay, I'll use this one. I'm not going to try another things. For this video, it's already running, and I don't have enough time because otherwise you will see me try to fix this for more than 2 hours. That is not good. Okay, we have here data product, and I'll try to add one row. Okay, and as use tenda means also tent. Make it white. Price is $40.25. And this is my Indonesian words. It basically it means yes, this is a tent. Okay, now it is inserted and safe. I'm going to close this. Um, I'm going to also disconnect and stop the app. You'll see that the volume is persisted, and then I'm going to stop and delete the container just to prove that that data should be persisted. Okay, I'm going to stop this and delete this and try to run this. Yep. Okay, the container should be created first. Okay, it is running, and let's try to connect again to see whether my changes is persisted. I mean, the new inserted row should be available, right? Okay, tables, select top 1000. Yep. Now it proves that the change is persisted even the container is stopped and deleted because it is using the same volume or Docker volume, Docker disk volume, or whatever you call. So that also gives additional advantage for us to ensure that we have the same data. That's also useful because in the previous code that I have before, if there is no row, it will add these, rows. Otherwise, it's just, leave it as is. So it will not try to, insert new rows again. That concludes this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next week video. And hopefully the next video will be the closing of this series because this series only meant for 2024. And after that next week video, I will have a end of year holiday. And at the same time, I'm going to announce a new video series. All will be in Bahasa or in my local Indonesian language. It will have a slightly different model of these journey videos. It more like introducing .NET 9 completely uh, or carefully curated, not in the journey video. So I will try to make the video to be prepared first. So watch this channel. Again, don't forget to subscribe to in order to have updates directly. And if you also try to keep up or being notified, don't forget to click the bell icon on that YouTube. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.